The morning of my 25th birthday, I woke up with a fragile hope that maybe this year would be different. I wasn't asking for diamonds or vacations, just recognition that I mattered as much as my sister Lila. My son Ethan, barely 3, was already tugging at my blanket, whispering, "Happy birthday, Mommy," in his tiny voice. That alone filled me with warmth. I got him dressed and held his little hand as we walked into the kitchen, the smell of pancakes and bacon already filling the air. My heart skipped. Had they actually made something for me? But as soon as we entered, Mom slid a plastic trash bag across the linoleum toward me with her foot. "Happy birthday," she said dryly. "We put all the family laundry in one bag. Thought you'd be useful for once. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video?" I blinked, stunned, staring at the heavy sack stuffed with shirts, socks, underwear, and towels. Dad smirked from behind his coffee mug. "Don't look so shocked. You should be grateful we included you. You're lucky to even get a gift." Before I could even process their cruelty, Lila burst into the kitchen in a silk robe, her hair perfectly styled. Mom squealed and kissed her cheeks, pulling out a glossy white envelope. Inside was a cruise ticket for a luxury liner leaving next week. "All expenses paid," Mom said proudly, tears in her eyes. "You deserve the world, darling." Lila twirled dramatically, giggling. "Oh my God, thank you! Finally a gift that matches my worth." Dad clapped like he was at a show. Then he looked at me, sitting there with a trash bag of dirty clothes at my feet. His voice cut like glass. "At least your sister will bring pride back to this family. You? You're a stain we can't wash out." Ethan, confused, tugged my sleeve. "Why is Auntie going on a boat, Mommy? Where's your ticket?" I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing a smile for him, though my eyes burned. As the table erupted in laughter at Lila's cruise plans, I tried to hold back tears. They mocked me openly. Mom waved a greasy spoon in my direction. "Maybe you'll find joy scrubbing socks. Some people are born to serve." Dad leaned forward, sneering. "And don't you dare complain. A roof over your head should be enough payment for your worthless existence." Every word landed like a hammer. I sat frozen, gripping Ethan's tiny hand, feeling humiliated, degraded, and yet, underneath the pain, something inside me hardened. My parents thought they could hand me garbage and crush my spirit, but all they were really doing was lighting the fuse. Because in that moment, I realized something crystal clear. Their pride wasn't untouchable, and I was going to rip it from them piece by piece until nothing remained. The days after my birthday felt like they stretched into an endless humiliation reel. Every time I thought about that trash bag of laundry, I felt my stomach twist. It wasn't just the gift, it was the way they looked at me, like my existence was an embarrassment that they had to tolerate. Ethan would toddle over with his little toys and try to make me laugh, but inside I was boiling. Mom didn't let me forget either. "Did you finish folding those socks, or are you waiting for your prince to come help you?" she sneered one morning, sipping her coffee as if she was royalty in her throne. Dad joined in, never missing a chance to stab me with words. "Funny how your sister is packing bikinis for her cruise, while you're up to your elbows in sweat-stained shirts. One daughter brings us honor, the other brings us shame." Lila wasn't subtle either. She paraded her new swimsuits around the living room, spinning in front of mirrors, holding up sunglasses, posing as if she were already on deck sipping champagne. "Do you think they'll have a photographer on board?" "Oh, wait, you wouldn't know. The only boat you've ever been on is probably a dirty ferry." Then she laughed, and Mom laughed, and Dad laughed, like it was some private comedy show with me as the punchline. Ethan watched it all with wide eyes. One night after they'd gone to bed, he whispered, "Mommy, why don't they clap for you? Why do they only smile for Auntie?" My throat tightened. I didn't want my little boy growing up thinking he was cursed by the same cruelty I had endured. That night, lying awake in my small room, staring at the cracked ceiling, I replayed everything. The birthdays where they gave me nothing but chores, the years of being compared to Lila, the times they told me I'd never amount to anything. And now, even as an adult with a child of my own, they still dangled cruelty like a chain around my neck. The breaking point came 3 days before Lila's cruise. Mom gathered us in the living room, a smug grin on her face. She tossed me another trash bag, this time heavier. Here, wash and iron everything before we leave. Don't ruin her big trip by being lazy. I dragged the bag to my room, my hands shaking, not from exhaustion but rage. I ripped it open. Piles of Lila's designer dresses, bikinis, expensive silk tops. They wanted me to clean and press every piece like I was their unpaid maid. And for what? So she could strut on a ship while I stayed behind in the shadows. I stared at those clothes for hours, the rage growing hotter until my hands trembled. In that moment, something in me snapped. I wasn't going to fold another shirt. I wasn't going to bow down and watch them laugh at my pain again. That night, as the house went quiet, I crept out into the backyard with the bag in my hands. The wind was sharp, rattling the trees. I could still hear my father's voice in my head. "At least she'll bring pride back." The words made my jaw clench so hard it hurt. I crouched down, opened the bag, and ran my hands over the expensive fabrics they worshipped like idols. Then, with a steady breath, I whispered, "Let's see how much pride is left when this is gone." One by one, I began planning. Not a reckless act, not a momentary lash of anger. Something bigger, something that would turn their precious cruise, their carefully polished pride, into ashes. By the time I went back inside, my chest was steady, my hands calm. Ethan stirred in his bed, murmuring in his sleep. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "Don't worry, baby, they'll never laugh at us again." And in that quiet, I felt it fully for the first time. Not shame, not defeat, but control. The fuse had been lit. The revenge was no longer a fantasy. It was a promise. The morning of Lila's departure arrived like a storm dressed in sunlight. The house buzzed with excitement. Mom was fussing over Lila's hair, Dad was triple-checking her passport, and she strutted in her brand-new white sundress, acting like a queen about to take the throne. They barely looked at me except to shove another command my way. "Carry her suitcase to the car, don't drop it," Dad barked. But what none of them knew was that for the past 3 days I had been quietly dismantling their little kingdom. I had walked through fire my entire life under their roof, ignored, humiliated, treated like trash. Now, it was time to show them what living without me would look like. The first strike came in silence. Lila's suitcase, the one packed with thousands of dollars worth of clothes, shoes, and accessories, was no longer the suitcase she thought she had. The night before, while she slept, I had unpacked everything, replacing it with ragged old towels, Ethan's torn pajamas, and the same laundry they once stuffed into a trash bag for me. Every glittering piece of her pride was gone. As Dad heaved it into the trunk, grunting, he smirked at me. "Careful not to mess this up, loser. This is the future of the family's pride." I didn't answer. My silence was sharper than any retort. Then came the second strike. Mom insisted on taking Lila's cruise documents out of the drawer, where she believed they had been waiting for weeks. Her face drained of color as she unfolded the folder to find blank sheets of paper and a cheap brochure for a budget bus tour. She stammered, flipping pages, her lips trembling. Where are the—" I stepped into the doorway, my voice calm but cold. "Looking for those?" I held up the real tickets, crisp and gleaming. Their eyes widened, their faces shifted between fury and disbelief. Lila lunged forward, but I stepped back, slipping them into my bag. "You wouldn't," she hissed. "Oh, but I would," I replied, "and I already did." Lila screamed, the sound splitting the air. "Give them back! This is my trip! It's everything I've worked for!" "Worked for?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean everything I bled for, everything I was robbed of? 9 years of debts, humiliations, and being spat on by the two people who were supposed to protect me? This trip is built on my back, Lila, on every scar they gave me, and now it's gone." Dad's face twisted red with rage. "You ungrateful parasite! We fed you, let you live here!" I cut him off, my voice like steel. "You fed me trash. You let me live here like a prisoner, and now you'll see how it feels to be stripped bare in front of the world." Strike 3 was the loudest. Just as they began to scream, the neighbors emerged from their houses, curious about the commotion. Because I had made sure they would. Flyers I had printed, detailing the truth of my family's cruelty, had been slipped into mailboxes the night before. Photos of my bruises, snapshots of Lila mocking me, recordings of their sneers. Worthless trash, useless mother, at least she'll bring pride, all laid bare. One neighbor whispered to another, shaking her head. I can't believe it, all this time and they acted like saints. Dad turned pale. Mom's hand trembled so hard she dropped the empty folder. Lila lunged at me again, but her sundress snagged on the porch railing, tearing loudly. Her scream echoed with humiliation. I stood taller than I ever had in my life. Your pride was always a mask. Now everyone knows what's underneath. By evening, the damage was complete. The cruise ship left without Lila. Mom sobbed behind closed doors. Dad didn't step outside, and Lila hid in her room, ripping apart what was left of her things. The house that had once been a stage for their cruelty was now silent. That night, Ethan curled into my lap. His little voice was soft. Mommy, are they gonna laugh at us again? I kissed his forehead, my eyes fixed on the darkened hallway where their shadows once loomed. No, baby. The laughter's over. For good. Because in destroying their pride, I had built my own, and for the first time the silence wasn't filled with shame, it was filled with power. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.